Hi, Carl Valeri here, and welcome to the informational, inspirational, and transparent Aviation Careers Podcast. Today we answer a question which is from listener mail. Of course, you can write in at feedback@aviationcareerspodcast.com. Somebody who wants a little bit of advice about instructing, and also the fact that they are a new instructor. But before we begin, a few announcements. First of all, if you're new here, please subscribe down below. If you're listening also on the in iTunes or onto the podcast, whatever podcatcher you have, please subscribe there. Really helps us out if you also send us some comments. Let us know if you like these videos and like the format that we're doing here. And obviously, if you're listening on the podcast, we really appreciate your comments at feedback@aviationcareerspodcast.com. For any type of career counseling, maybe you're looking for a scholarship, maybe some type of an inspirational story, definitely write us at feedback@aviationcareerspodcast.com. We do have the career coaching. We also have the scholarships guide, and it's only $10 for the scholarships guide for 1-year access. And by the way, through the Pay It Forward campaign, using that coupon code Pay It Forward, you can get a free scholarships guide. As many of you know, I have another announcement that we are going to be putting a new coupon out for the folks that are ExpressJet Airlines that have lost their jobs. From 2001 till 2013, I was the furlough representative for ExpressJet Airlines for the Airline Pilots Association. I know what you're going through right now if you're one of those people that have been laid off. It really is a tough time, but there's some important things you need to do. And what I want to do is help you. So what we've done is, with that coupon code ExpressJet, just one word, you'll get 20% off everything we do, the career coaching, also the scholarships guide. It really is a tough time, but I want you to stay positive and focused on what your goal is, and that's to move forward in your career. We're going to come up with another episode too, just talking about what to do during this period. So again, ExpressJet is that coupon code. Anyway, let's move on to the show here. And don't forget, you can subscribe to this if you're listening on iTunes, or I should say at your podcatcher. You can subscribe at youtube.com/expertaviator, or just go to aviationcareerspodcast.com, click on YouTube. So first question comes in, and this is what we're going to do a deep dive into from a listener who wrote into us at feedback@aviationcareerspodcast.com. Here he goes. He says, I heard Carl as a guest speaker on Aviation News Talk podcast and loved the insights he had on how to become a career pilot. Currently, I'm at a large flight school and I'm starting to look for a flight instructor job near me. Last year, anyone with a pulse got hired as a flight instructor. Now, the landscape is the complete opposite. You know, one of the things I also want to say to people is that things always change. They always change throughout the industry. So good question here, but he continues. Even with the incredible support from the Flight Academy and my school, finding an open flight instructor position is a herculean task. From a career coaching and recruiting perspective, what services does Aviation Careers Podcast offer that could help me find open positions, then help me better prepare for the interview? Well, first of all, to prepare for the interview, we have that pilot interview course, the one that's on YouTube. Every week we've been coming out with a new video. We didn't do one for the past couple of weeks because I was on vacation. Really enjoyed that. But we'll do just a short video on a question that you'll see during a pilot interview. Focus more towards the 121, but you can use it for any type of interview that you're going to do out there. For instance, we'll ask questions like, what is 3585? Well, obviously it's going to be more for the 121 people, but then we'll ask questions like, you know, what do you need to file an alternate? You know, do you need to file an alternate? Those type of questions. And we're going to do some personnel questions, the tell me about a time questions. So we do that. We also do the career coaching, obviously. A couple things we do there. We develop a plan for you to actually move forward in your career. And then the next thing we do is help you out with those interviews. Good example is Commute Air right now is doing a lot of interviews. I've done hundreds and hundreds of interview preps for Commute Air, been working with them for many, many years. We do that for all the different regional airlines. And we do it for cargo, we do it for everything. So that's like some of the things that we do here. A lot of people don't realize that's what we do besides just helping you out move forward and trying to come up with a plan. Another big thing that we do is help people change careers, or midlife change in their careers, that type of thing. So hopefully that explains some of the few things that we do here at Aviation Careers Podcast. Another thing too, If you bring in a question to us, by the way, and I know the person that's listening noticed I changed a few things. I changed some things as far as verbiage to protect your privacy, but this question here is a great question. So from a recruiting standpoint, also have done a lot of recruiting, both in the airline industry and also in the computer industry. There's many ways that you can prepare for that interview. I talked about one. Go online. We have that pilot interview course. There's other things out there that are free. Check those out. The other thing too, and let's go into your specific thing. I want to talk about flight instructors and what you can do as a flight instructor to move forward. Here in this industry, in any industry, it's all about people, right? So one of the most important things you can do is first try to get hired with the school that you're working with right now. A lot of times they will hire you afterwards. They put a preference on their customers. So first thing you should do, obviously, is try to get hired with the flight school, since there's usually a preference there given to the actual customers that are there right now. Another thing that I think a lot of people forget to do, especially in this environment, remember the resume? A lot of people were getting hired without resumes. I know some people listening right now are just shocked at that, but hiring was going so fast, a lot of people didn't need any resumes. Well, we have that pilot resume, that free video on our YouTube channel, how to create a pilot resume in just 5 simple steps. You have a coupon code at the end of that video, by the way, that gives you the course for free. So go check that out on YouTube. It's real simple. Pilot resume should be just 1 page. I mean, it's great to find out what you've done in the past, but certain technical type of jobs that are out there, you wind up having like 14-page resumes. I know I was in the industry where the computer science industry, that type of thing, where you had resumes 10, 12 pages long because there were some very specific things we wanted to find within the resume, some specific technical things that we might need to use on a project with some other technical things. With us in the aviation industry, we want to know you're qualified. We want to know your past. We also want to know what makes you stand out. So make sure you create that pilot resume with that in mind. And while I've said that, the other thing I really want you to do is this, and this is really, really important. Develop your story. Develop your story. What's unique about you? Everybody's unique. You ever heard the term, everybody's got a book inside them? Well, you too. You're somebody who's truly unique. Let's make that short story in your resume and also in your sales pitch to somebody that actually might be hiring you. One thing I've noticed is that we're getting a lot of applicants at the different flight schools that I work with here within Lakeland Airport and also some other airports. And you need to have something that makes you stand out, because people hire people, not resumes. Really important to remember that. People hire people, not resumes. We're going to look at your resume and make sure you're qualified, but there are times we'll make exceptions to that rule for specific types of people. Another thing too, I think a lot of people discount, along with the resume, is the LinkedIn profile. Tell you one thing that I do as a recruiter. One of the first things I do is check out the LinkedIn profile, and some people don't know this, but if you look on there's a click, you can click on the right side and pull down a description, a whole summary of somebody's profile, and I download it as a PDF file. That becomes my resume. When I want to share somebody's information with another recruiter, who are, by the way, on LinkedIn a lot of times, I will download that PDF file and send it off to them. Or I'll send them a link to your profile on LinkedIn. So make sure you set up a LinkedIn profile, but make sure it's a good profile. And we might go and do a course on how to do a good LinkedIn profile. I have examples, but they're individuals, so I kind of don't want to share those today, because I'd rather do just a generic profile for somebody that has an aviation resume. But include a couple things here. Number one, your background. I'm looking at a few things. I want to make sure that you can pass a 10-year background check. I want to see a residence history for 10 years. I want to see employment history for 10 years. If you're in school, you want to show that you were in school. I want to make sure you have all your certificates, things like, do you have your passport? Do you have your restricted radio telephone operator's permit? Do you have your current medical? Those are the kind of things that I want to see on that LinkedIn profile and be able to glean that right away, especially now because, I see it. Flight schools, at the airlines, we have lots of different applicants. So make sure that you have all the information out there, because you know what? If I'm going through 100 different applicants and someone doesn't have the restricted radio telephone operator's permit, that's the one I'm going to pass over. Maybe a great candidate, but we may pass over that one. So make sure everything's out there, because sometimes people will just go through the computer-generated search, put them into a database, and then that's the one that pops out. The ones that had that, but the ones that don't, doesn't pop out. Another thing that I think that's really important when you're looking at your resume, your LinkedIn profile, whatever it is, when you're talking to someone, again, tell your story, but also figure something out that's unique to you. There's something unique about yourself. There's many unique things, actually. You can relate to people in many different ways. I mean, there's certain unique things about me that I'll relate in my story. There's unique things about other people I can relate in their story. Things that might correlate with somebody and something that they can understand. For instance, unique thing about me and that's happening right now is I was furloughed during a period where when I went on furlough, I couldn't even teach at some places because I didn't have enough time in certain types of aircraft. Some people are having that right now. So I can relate to that, which you need to do the same thing. A good example, say you're military, ex-military or something like that. There's something unique. Say you have something in your background that's unique. Say you come from a different country. Say your parents are immigrants. You're an immigrant. You can talk about that. You can talk about things like regional specific. As you start talking to people, you realize you're only a few steps away from somebody that you know within the family or somebody that you know in reference to the job. Small industry too, aviation industry. So make sure that you have that uniqueness. Maybe it's you played a sport, maybe you're involved in a flight team at the college that you went to. No matter what it is, kind of bring all those things in, but try one thing that's really unique about you, something that makes you different. Say you're here on asylum. Say you actually left your country because of asylum. There's something unique. I mean, there's all sorts of things that are truly, truly unique. But one thing I think we need to do, and we don't do enough of, is practice interviewing. I've actually done the pilot interview course, which is the different questions. That's practice right there. Another thing too that you need to do is practice with somebody else. Something you could do is, just like I'm doing here, I'm recording this. You can play it back later and see, what you're doing different in an interview. There's a lot of things like I'm doing right now that I may not do in an interview. I'm very animated with my hands. If I'm doing an interview, like a video interview, I wouldn't do that. There's things that make me unique, that's fun. This is a little more relaxed environment. There's certain things like my dress. I would change what I'm dressed as right now. I would change what I look like, that type of thing. So there's those kind of things that you find out on a video. Say there's certain things that you do, like say, maybe you do that. Those are the kind of things that you want to stop. And the only way you'll find out is either through the video or having somebody like a career coach help you out with that interview. That's something that we do in our career coaching. You can find out more at aviationcareerspodcast.com/coaching to find out more about that. Also, you don't necessarily have to have a career coach. If you have a relative, a friend, etc., that's involved in the hiring environment, you might want to get with them. Also, I really highly recommend at least getting with one person who's done aviation interviews, because of the fact that they may be a little bit different than the industry that they're in. There are certain things that are a little bit different, a little bit more nuanced. So get with someone who's done aviation interviews. Most importantly, what you need to do is do something every day until you get that job. For instance, what you should do is start reading books about getting hired, about sales, about resumes. There's lots of books online. You can go to Amazon. There's so many different ways to find out more information about your specific industry. Read magazines in, say, the sector, the industry you're interested in. Read different organizationals, magazines, and newsletters. For example, say you're on the West Coast and you want to do some more flying on the West Coast. There's lots of organizations, say National Business Aviation Administration, association. Maybe that's something you want to get involved with and read their newsletters and learn more about it. You can then start conversing with those people. There's so much you can do, but every single day you should be doing something. One book that I highly recommend, I'll put a link down in the notes for you. There's one called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's an old book. It's a good one. It's some really simple different things that you can do. In sales, that's what you're doing, is you're selling yourself. It's really important to understand the fact that when you're selling something, you're selling it to a person. Just like you're selling yourself, you're selling it to a person, to an individual. You want to resonate with that person. Also be humble, be yourself. And something I found, like with this podcast, I used to edit my podcast quite a bit. You've heard me make a few mistakes here. I don't edit out a lot of my mistakes, unless something that's really bad, or I say something wrong, obviously. But be yourself. People can tell if you're not being transparent and honest with them. Be who you are. There's another important reason to do that when you're doing an interview, is because when you're yourself, you're going to get hired into an organization that actually fits with who you are. That's an important thing too. It's not just getting hired. I get it. You need a job. You need to fly. You need to get some hours and you need to get paid. But you also want to go somewhere that you're going to be happy with. So when you're really honest and upfront, you find out it's a really good fit or it's not. I'll tell you what, I went on an interview process, went through many interviews, got to the final interview, and all of a sudden we all realized in the room, this really wasn't a good fit. Was that bad? No. What would have been worse is if, say, I got hired there and we all realized that this wasn't a good fit. Then we went through this whole process and cost, and it wouldn't have been a good thing, that's for sure. So again, be true to yourself, be humble. I know it's hard to do. It really is. And trust me, I had a big problem with that. And I know you're probably struggling with that too, is speaking and talking to people. Gosh, I almost didn't make it out of high school because of it. I had so many problems with public speaking. Obviously, I got over it, but the way I got over it is that I started speaking about things I was passionate about. Back then, embarrassingly enough, it was about cars, and I worked in a gas station, and I was changing the oil in cars and changing tires. And in my public speaking class, I decided to talk about that, how to do a tune-up, how to change brakes, that type of thing. Well, all of a sudden, I came out of my shell, and that's what I want you to do. Kind of think about something you're passionate about. Bring that out in your interview. The last point I want to leave you with is this. You are somebody who is in a job right now, even if you're not employed. What's that job? Your job is getting a job. Remember, your job right now is getting a job. The day that you left your other job, don't stop. The day you leave your last job, that you're laid off, you're furloughed, whatever it is, you get your suit and tie on, you get your resume together, you start doing all these things that I'm talking about. You don't stop. You keep moving forward. That is the most important thing. Your job is to get a job right now. And I know it's a tough environment. Hopefully you'll actually put into place some of the things I talked about here. If you have friends that are flight instructors that are looking for jobs out there, they need to do the same thing. Specifically about flight instructor jobs, it truly is, there's some very unique things about certain jobs out there. I talk to people that are recruiting all the time. It might be where you live, it might be your ability to come in on Saturdays, or maybe it's Monday through Friday. There's something about that job that's unique that they're looking for. Maybe they're looking for somebody who's had experience with military pilots, or maybe some experience with people that have immigrated. There's all sorts of different things that come into play during that interview. Make sure you get those out there, and make sure you go in the door and you ask for the job. Don't be bashful. Tell you what, I had someone come in the door the other day, was looking for a job, said, yeah, we'll take your resume. I knew that it wasn't something they were looking for, but you know what? The person was really nice, and it's somebody I would like to hire even though they didn't have the qualifications. Maybe they might get hired. You don't know. But that's somebody that's going to be in my mind for a long time, saying, hey, if that comes up again, I think I want to look at that person to hire them. So make sure you do that. Make sure that you realize your job is to get a job right now. And go look at some of the resources. Go to aviationcareerspodcast.com. Recommended reading. Go through all the things out there. Go look at the courses. There's a lot of free courses, or at least the first one's free. Sign up for career coaching. Go out there, get somebody that can help you out. We'll have links in the bottom. And don't forget, as far as getting ready for the interviews, we have that pilot interview course. I think we're on episode 10 right now. Didn't realize how popular they would be, so we're going to start putting more and more of those out for you. And it's something that really is important for me, especially during this time, is to help you out. But the most important thing is you need to help yourself right now. You need to get out there yourself and start doing something today to move forward in your career. Don't stop. Don't let it get you down. You need to focus on flying the plane and getting out of this emergency situation. Just like you do in the airplane, right? Fly the plane and let's go through the checklist. which are the things I've told you, and let's move forward. Let's not think about everything else. You must stay calm, move forward. But the most important thing I want you to do, and remember this, no matter what it is, whether it's subscribing to this podcast or subscribing to the YouTube video that you're watching right now, if it's looking in the comments below at what other people say and some of the links that I have down there, no matter what it is, I want you to take one step today to move forward in your career. Don't stop. Make sure you do something now to move forward in your career and your life. I hope you have enjoyed this. Please hit the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Let us know what you think about these videos and what we can do in the future to help you out with the podcast. And if you're listening right now, go check out our YouTube channel, aviationcareerspodcast.com/YouTube. Talk to you next episode. Safe flying out there.